Theoretical framework. Neither can problems be formulated, nor can adequate research designs be developed, except within a specified theoretical framework. What is meant by framework is a conceptual or theoretical frame which every researcher has to adopt to view a problem and find a solution. Implicitly or explicitly, every inquirer adopts his own pair of glasses through which he views the problem, and within the perspective, identifies and orders the variables on which he will concentrate his attention. Let us go back to some of the research problems given in the previous section and try to identify the theoretical framework, the theoretical perspective of the researcher reflected therein. To begin with, let us take the statement of problem given in Pan 3.1. Temper tantrums among 6-year-old breastfed and bottle-fed children of middle-class educated urban mothers. It is obvious that the researcher thinks that the child-rearing practice relating to feeding is mainly responsible for the temper tantrums displayed by children. Restricting the study to 6-year-old children of middle-class educated urban mothers helps in identifying and restricting the population from which the sample is to be obtained. However, even the selection of middle-class educated urban mothers for study may be indicative of the researcher's theoretical framework, namely that it is among the middle-class educated mothers that the mode of feeding, bottle feeding, causes temper tantrums among children. In the research topic bed soiling by 4-year-old children of educated working and non-working urban mothers belonging to middle and upper socioeconomic levels, the researcher's theory may be that the separation of children from their mothers, in cases of working mothers, for long hours causes insecurity among children, which is reflected in bed soiling by them. The selection and/or construction of a logical framework both clarifies the issues and restricts the variables so as to make a meaningful study possible. Let us take, for example, the problem stated in Para 3.1 of the previous section. Analysis of the performance in English spelling of students of Class X by socio-economic level of parents studying in selected private English medium in Islamabad Model School and federal government schools located in Islamabad. The researcher seems to believe that socio-economic level of parents and not the type of educational institution to which children go is the single most important area affecting the English spelling of students of Class X. That appears to be the reason why he has excluded other factors affecting English spelling. This may appear wrong to a new researcher to pick only one variable while studying something as complex as performance in English spelling. But very often this is the only way to study complex phenomena. Of course, we have to remember that scientific study is not an easy task and has to do a bit at a time. Thus, selection sharpens focus and increases the clarity brought to the problem area. However, it excludes from the view of the inquiries other perspectives which might be brought to bear on the same problem. Although it is obvious that both the functions, i.e. clarification and exclusion, are necessary, and these dictate that this process of choosing a theoretical framework should be decided explicitly and rationally. Many of the researchers do it without giving due thought. No one would intentionally make significant exclusionary choices without considering alternatives. It is only when you have no clear conceptual framework that you remain vague and confused. This is one of the reasons that study of related research is so important for developing a research design, as it helps you to realize how many facets of the problem do exist and what other conceptual framework has been applied to solve the same problem earlier. The problem will remain obscure until the possible conceptual structures, which have already been used for an investigation, have been examined and assessed by you, as researcher. Defining a logical structure or theoretical framework. A logical structure or theoretical framework is the set of concepts, variables, and relationship within which the problem is formulated and solved. Such frameworks will vary greatly in format and sophistication. Typically, you deal with the design of an appropriate logical structure at two levels. Initially, the concern is to identify a vantage point for the study. This level of design will be referred to as the development of a macrostructure. Even these perspectives, frequently adopted for macrostructure adapted from previous research in the area of study, vary markedly in complexity. In its simplest form, such a perspective may be no more than a set of descriptive categories or ordered variables. For example, one might decide to investigate teacher behavior by noting whether a teacher's verbal statements are questions or disciplinary comments. Such a set of terms would be quite useful in categorizing behavior, even though there is no set principle that all behavior could be categorized this way, or that the terms were pre-selected to conform to some particular point of view. At a second level of design, the microstructure level, you try to identify, define, and relate the key constructs and variables of concern in the study. You, having adopted or adapted a perspective, now turn to the construction of an idiosyncratic structure which focuses upon the key variables of this inquiry. Until both of these steps are taken explicitly, the investigator is unable to assess the alternative paths available for the inquiry. Thus, the general perspective adopted by the researcher in the two research proposals relating to behavior problem of children in PAN 3.1 is that the practice of keeping children separated from them for long hours adopted by educated urban mother is the factor responsible for these problems. The key variables in these studies are temper tantrums, bed soiling, middle class, educated urban mothers, upper socioeconomic educated urban mother, educated working and non-working mothers, etc. In the two research proposals relating to the performance of students in English medium institutions, the general perspective adopted by their researcher seems to be that the performance of students is related more to the home environment than to the instruction provided in schools. The key constructs are student performance, socioeconomic levels of parents, educated and uneducated mothers, etc.